Good evening. Not really. BTMreview.com here with episode 20. 20, really?
Yep.
I could have swore I already made the joke that we're old enough to gamble. But you know what? It's probably because, well, we did make that joke. Because, see, last week we recorded a string of podcasts and, technology happens. Technology happens and they decided that those podcasts just weren't worth the shit, frankly, I guess, because everything got deleted. Maybe it was Skynet, Zach.
Actually, it was that your computer just shut down.
My computer just told me, fuck you, and shut down out of nowhere.
So it might have been Skynet.
It totally was. Speaking of Skynet, want to go ahead and pitch, we had Eddie Furlong week start this past weekend where we did a couple of commentaries of two of our favorite Eddie Furlong movies, and we'll try and do a couple of more, but we did Pet Sematary 2 and we did Brain Scan for all you kind of niche early 90s horror fans out there. They're totally awesome. And you might be asking, what does this have to do with games? Well, Terminator had some pretty shitty trademark games, didn't he?
Yeah.
Wait, we could talk for days about the original Terminator on NES or the T2 game that was on NES, Genesis, and Super Nintendo. Those and or even the arcade game, which the arcade game, the actual arcade was actually pretty cool, but I don't think it ported over so well. But
I remember playing like Terminator 3 and Terminator Salvation games too.
Oh yeah.
For like the Xbox and
PlayStation. Like PlayStation 2. I never played those. I think the Terminator, not the Salvation game, the one that, what was the other one? Was it Terminator 3 or did it have like a subtitle?
I think
so. I know there was a game that was in promotion that came out with Terminator 3, but I don't think it was called Terminator 3, but I know what you're talking about, and that was kind of in the early days of the PS2, and I thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
And I know that because I'm a big music guy, big metalhead, and I know Raymond Herrera did the music to that game, and he was the original drummer for the band Fear Factory. He got he disbanded, he left that band, and now he's an industry guy, and he works with a lot of video games, and he's done a lot of soundtrack work. So you know what? Screw it, man. For Eddie Furlong week, let's talk about those T2 games, those Terminator games. Terminator 1, you want to talk about them real quick? Have you played them?
I played the first one for NES.
The first one for the NES? Yeah, it's a piece of shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a piece of shit, man, and it's one of those games that doesn't become more forgiving as time goes forward. It's one of those games, man, that it's one of those shitty examples of an NES game where it's unfairly hard and it's difficult purely based on its flawed mechanics, not the gamer. So basically, any game that's not a Super Mario game for the NES, just about. But there was not just that one. We'll go back to it. The original Terminator also had a game on the Sega CD that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that one was hard too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty hard, but that one came a little bit later. It came totally out of sequence. We had the T2 game on the NES, and I've got that as well. And the T2 game on the Sega Genesis / Super Nintendo. They're all different shitty versions of the same game.
Yeah.
You know what? Those games get a ton of hate, but I gotta be honest with you. Back when I got those, I acquired it on the Sega Genesis my first time back in 1996 or 7.
Were those ones better than the NES version?
Like I said, they're just kind of ghettoer. Like the NES is a little ghettoer and things like that. But you know what? People dog those games, and back then I kind of enjoyed them because they're one of those games where you get like 15 minutes of pleasure out of it. It just gets a little repetitive, and I liked it because there's a certain brutality to it that you weren't finding in NES games or Genesis games, anything like that in the early 90s. And, think about it, 91, 92 when these games were coming out on all the three of those platforms. But it reminds me of like Grand Theft Auto because you're the Terminator, you've played it, and you could just blow people away. Innocent people, which totally goes against the T2 movie because he wasn't killing people, remember?
Right. Yeah.
But that's not going to sell a game. But now there's no blood. But man, so that's what I mean. The stages were kind of monotonous. You kind of like don't know what you're doing. You kind of like run around until you find the T1000, and then you go to like the shopping mall, and it's and everybody complains about the driving stages when you're on your motorcycle going from place to place. And how wacky the driving is. But it is fun for like 5, 10, 15 minutes. Just that, like walking around the mall, going up the escalators and just shooting fucking dogs and people and just blowing people away. It's a good time.
Dogs in the mall.
Dude, I think there's like German Shepherd. Maybe those are at the bar. The first stage is the Texas bar, that like country bar.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on it completely.
Oh man, look up videos on it. But like I said, it's just like the original Grand Theft Auto, where you just get that gratification from like racing around and just shooting people without even questioning. And it's a lot of fun, just blast people with a shotgun, blood or not. So it's one of those games. But you know, I give it props, man, because it's insane. Because like even in like the Terminator game on the Sega CD, which is by far the best Terminator franchise game, you're Kyle Reese, and everything you're shooting is like robots. They're robots or machines. You're in the future. You're fighting the Terminator, so it's not really the same. And
I remember that one.
And I'm not even sure if the gun you fired was actually bullets, or if it was like, I don't know if you ever played like the Aliens arcade game, but remember they shot like little colored balls out of their guns, like plasma rifles, you know, like they couldn't show the machine gun or whatever. Even if you're shooting aliens, it made no sense. But yeah, T2, man, you're blowing away people. You can just go to that mall and just blow away as many innocent bystanders as you want. So anyway, that's kind of cool. But yeah, that Sega CD one, the Sega CD actually has some gems. I know it's not exactly looked upon favorably all these years later, but I love Spider-Man versus the Kingpin. I love the Batman and Robin cartoon animated video game on there. It's a racer and or car combat game. And that Terminator game, it had a killer soundtrack, man. It was just like 80s metal, because they were trying to take full advantage of a CD quality sound for the first time on a console. And so it's funny because none of the music was actually relevant to the game, and it wasn't even mixed. It wasn't like the music had cues. It's like it was basically the equivalent of hitting your thing on mute, putting your TV on mute, and playing a CD in the background. And it was funny, but the music was cool. And
did LJN make all of them?
Gosh, LJN made the NES, Super NES, and the Genesis stuff. I don't know if they made the Sega CD one. That honestly, the game was too good. And the thing is about Sega CD is, I don't quote me on this, but it seems like that system had like its own like proprietary development teams, and a lot of those development teams are no longer in business. Like they only did Sega CD games, and I think that was because we're working with CD. I don't know if they got PC people of the time, people that were doing like PC games, because these are people that were integrating like FMV and stuff like that. Like for example, I know for a fact, when the Power Rangers came out, they released a Power Rangers game on the Genesis. They released a Power Rangers game on the Super Nintendo. The Genesis one was a fighting game, a shitty one. And the one on the Super Nintendo was a beat 'em up, an awesome one. The one on the Sega CD was that full motion video crap, where you're just like, guiding through an episode, push X to watch, to progress the fight as it should, or you lose. I guarantee you, the person that develops the Super Nintendo one did not develop that full motion video abortion. These are all different people, so I think that's the way Sega CD handled their stuff. But anyway,
I miss that. I miss when games like were different for each console. Like I remember when the PlayStation 3 came out. They were still making PlayStation 2 versions that were different games completely. Oh, yeah.
And yeah, me too, man. That was really cool. And what are some other cool examples of that? Like,
I remember Splinter Cell Double Agent was really different for the 360 and the PlayStation 2.
It was extremely different, though, back then when we had the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, and the NES was still kind of hanging on.
Oh yeah,
man! Like every version of everything was different, and Power Rangers is usually my go-to, man. Like, and it's funny because they marketed that game. The games came out at the same time, and they all had the exact same cover. And it's funny because it's almost false advertising. It's like you have to be really careful about what you're buying.
Yeah. I remember the Ghostbusters game was like that too. Different on the Genesis and the
that's right. The Genesis one kicks ass.
Yeah,
it is so good. That's another great.
Are you talking about the first one or the one where they have like big heads?
I'm talking about the one that had big heads.
Yeah, that's the one that everybody likes.
That's the one that's hard to find. I used to have it too, which pisses me off. I bought it, and I didn't get it till kind of late. I bought that game in like 1998 or 1999 at a garage sale in my neighborhood.
Yeah, I was just playing that on my PSP. I got emulators on
cracked stuff. Yeah, that's great. So as far as Terminator, I mean, I didn't play anything past the classic era. I mean, after all, we're talking about Edward Furlong week. That's our excuse to chat about that stuff. Other than that, man, we all know he was a huge fan of Afterburner 3. Because remember, he just like he could not be bothered when Bobby Budnick, Danny Kuski, was trying to say, "Hey, there's some guy looking for you. Hey, man, get away, man! I'm in Afterburner 3." And it literally, I don't know, man.
Didn't they like put on like Terminator Salvation? Isn't there a scene where he's playing that or something?
Terminator Salvation? Gosh, I wouldn't know, man. I watched that movie twice, believe it or not. I watched it the first time and I hated it. And then
I think I'm thinking of that song, the Guns N' Roses song.
Oh,
they put in there.
Where you got like Arnold Schwarzenegger as the T-800 walking through the audience at the concert, like scanning all the people, scanning the band members. Like, focuses it on Slash, heroin user. But
yeah, I watched that movie once. I don't even remember anything about it.
Yeah. But anyway, so everybody look out for, if you're into films, check out our commentaries on those two Eddie Furlong classics. And yeah, I mean, if you want to, check out some of those shitty games. Most of them suck. But check out the Sega CD one, man. That's really cool. In other news, we got to talk about, not a really good segue, I understand, but kind of, retro games. We've talked about, everybody's heard about the GameStop kind of throwing their hat into the game as far as selling retro. They noticed that retro is super popular, and they noticed that the people have created this crazy ass market of overpriced demands on eBay. And so we heard about it, that they were just going to experiment in a couple of markets. Well, it seems maybe they're still doing that just with physical stores, but now it looks like they're dealing with online. So you can go online and you can buy all these games. My problem with this is, and there's a couple other podcasters out there who have pointed it out, but it's extremely true, and it I don't know, it should raise a little skepticism. But you look on there, and some of the games aren't priced too bad. They're not like steals, but they're not above retail, and some of them, are maybe a few bucks under, a little over, but it's in that ballpark. But then you see like certain games for a pretty good price. Let's say you have like, I don't know, God, I don't know. There's a couple examples that I saw, and I'm having trouble thinking of it. Like you might see Dragon Warrior 3 on there, or you might see Suikoden 2. I think that's one I definitely noticed, like Suikoden 2, however you pronounce it. And, I think they were asking about $40 of what it normally goes for.
Really?
So, and I can't remember, like I want to say, yeah, I mean, it's still a pricey game no matter how you slice it, but you look at that and you see some things. There's some games that, like I said, most of the time it's like, oh, this is kind of ballpark what it's all going for retail. But then you see certain things, it's like, wow, it's a good deal. They have regular NESs on there. You
can buy the consoles.
Yeah, and it looks like it has like 2 controllers and the whole 9 yards, and they want $50 for it. I'm like, that's not bad.
Yeah.
But here's the thing you have to notice. These deals, these games that are priced really good, a few, quite a 10, 20, $30 under these ridiculous eBay prices, and these NESs and stuff like that, you'll notice that there's none in stock of any of those games. All those ones that seem like good deals, they have none in stock. So I think it's a marketing trick.
Probably.
It's like, oh man, look, this day, they only charge this for that. They'll buy other stuff. They'll check back in. But the thing is these prices are liable to change anytime they want to with the fluctuating market. So I'm skeptical that once they do get in some Suikoden 2s or whatever, like high dollar game you got in there, they're going to, the price is going to change.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little sleazy.
Especially since it's a GameStop. All the slimy stuff they do.
Oh, yeah. Like that, we can go back to that whole fucking Metroid Prime Trilogy and Xenoblade where they were opening the new copy so they can sell it at a higher premium.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because those were going for like 100 and 100 plus on eBay, whatever. And now if they're still in the shrink wrap, they're still retail. They can't charge any more than retail price.
Yeah. I remember like people saying that I stopped going there a long time ago, but I remember my cousin was saying that like, they'll get a game, they let their employees take it home, so they'll open it and play it, and then whenever it comes Tuesday, they'll bring it back, re-shrink wrap it, and sell it like brand new, even though it's been opened and stuff. Yeah,
I mean, and I've had, come to think of it, I've had questionable purchases like that, where like the disc is shaking around, and it looks like it's been possibly tamper with.
I remember one Christmas, I think it was like, oh man, it was whatever year it came out, maybe the year after. My mom and dad got me it was Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes for GameCube. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited, like I get it and I'm excited to play it. I open it up and there's no game in it.
Oh.
So I had to wait since had to wait till freaking New Year was over and stuff before I could take it back and get it.
Funny story. You remember how like old games like Babbage's or software, etc. I mean,
yeah, that's what it used to be.
Yeah, they just constantly changed. But
yeah,
I was a little bit more accustomed to Babbage's. But you remember how they used to keep? Yeah, they keep like. I mean, I don't know if they still do at GameStop, but maybe they do. I don't ever go into there. But like Babbage's, they would keep like the empty cases on display, and you take them up to the front, and then they would give you discs like for use. Yeah. Okay, and or give you a copy of the game or whatever. Anyway, I used to know friends that would be pretty, they'd be advocates of the 5-finger discount, and which is horrible, by the way. I mean, there was so many stores like when we were in high school that it just went around like, oh, this store is easy to steal from. Everybody stole from Kmart because you could just get away with it. Because those stores are wastelands, and I guess maybe at the time they didn't have like really good security systems implemented. I mean, I don't know if it's worth their time. I mean, not that many people shop at Kmart, therefore, who knows how many people actually steal and if it's worth it, money wise. It's not like Walmart or whatever. But anyway, at a GameStop, a friend of mine stole a game, and I never was an advocate of that. I thought that was shitty. And like I was the kind of goody two shoes, and I still would be, where it's like I'm not playing this dirty game. I wouldn't play it. Like this is just wrong. But one time they got their just desserts, and it was so funny. They bought a game, and I don't remember what it is. I want to say it could have been. I mean, coming from that era, it could have been the original. It could have been Resident Evil DualShock version, or it could have been Resident Evil 2, or it could have been the original Resident Evil. One of the fat games with like double disc. Or whatever, or something like that. Anyway, they took it and they ended up wherever the heck we were hanging out. Like they showed us like, oh, look what I got, and then they go home and they brought it over to the house that we were at anyway. And they're like, oh, look what I got, and they open it up and there's no games inside. And it was just, yeah, you're a prick, man. That's what you get. It's like horrible. Like I hope they got you on camera too, so you can get busted for stealing and not getting shit.
Imagine having to take it back.
Oh yeah, like that episode of The Simpsons, taking back Bone Storm.
I never watched The Simpsons as it aired. I'm catching up now.
There's a Christmas episode where Bart really wants this game called Bone Storm, and it's a parody of Mortal Kombat. He sees the commercial on TV, and it's even got like a guy with 4 arms, or like fighting, and it's really bloody, and he's like, whoa. And then him and his family go to the mall to get holiday pictures, like for a Christmas card or whatever. And then he's looking at the games, and of course, Marge won't let him have it, and then he's tempted to steal it. He wears a hoodie because it's wintertime, and it's funny, he's like contemplating taking the game, because I guess at their store, I remember they used to do this at like Shopko's. They have Shopko's in the Midwest. I'm not sure if you have them where you are in Illinois, but back in the day, their games were not behind glass. That's like a given now. But back in the day, they just used to be like hanging on the shelf, and you could just pick them up and look at the back of them, and whatever. Anyway, so he's looking at this game and he's contemplating what to do. And you know how like the good angel and the bad angel shows up on your shoulders? Anyway, it's Mario. Mario shows up on one shoulder. He's like, go ahead, Bart. Take it the game. He's like convincing him to take it. And then you got Sonic racing by. Take it. Like Sega. Anyway, he ends up taking it. And he gets caught and he goes back and whatever. It's a fun episode. But anyway, man, GameStop. I'm definitely skeptic of it. I'm still an advocate of hunting out those good deals. Yeah. So I don't know. I definitely would keep an eye on it because it's stupid. It seems like they got a lot of cool stuff, but just be careful of what's in stock and what's not. And like I said, it's not like their ledger's clean or anything. They've been known to gouge, and they're going to get their money because it's like we said, we got to pay attention and not forget what they pulled a couple years ago. Like I said, when Metroid Prime Trilogy was going through the roof on eBay, and Xenoblade, and gosh, there's a third game I remember was in question. But yeah, that's what they were doing. They were they still had all these games. They were hoarding these games that were still new. And when they saw what they were going for on eBay, because they were supposedly not on shelves anymore, they cleared out their warehouses of what they had left, sent them to the stores. They had employees open them and then put them on the shelves, because as long as they were wrapped, they still had to sell them by law for retail. But if they were opened, they were used.
Yeah.
So they were getting their $100 or whatever, and it was really, really shitty, man. And they were totally exploited for that. And I don't know why people were so forgiving. Like, it's just like, it's funny how some people rebound off some things. Ugh.
I hear crap about them all the time.
I know. Yeah, from people that work there, I know people have a lot of bad things to say about big corporations and, Walmart. I'll tell you, I understand the evils of Walmart, but, even me, man, I get good stuff at Walmart. I do my shopping at Walmart. I'm a slave to the machine. I go somewhere and I can get my motor oil and get like something to drink and get, you can get everything in one-stop shop. I get the appeal. GameStop has no appeal whatsoever. They're not all in one. I mean, they put out all these mom and pop. I used to love going to these mom and pop stores, man. They were my favorite. Where the prices weren't necessarily the same. They definitely fluctuated. There was no eBay to base prices on.
Yeah,
it was so cool. I miss the old days of going into somewhere, and who knows, maybe even being able to haggle people down.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I know there's still mom and pop stores all around the country, but they're just tough to find. I don't know any in my area.
Me neither.
But anyway, GameStop. I'm not forgetting that they're the enemy. So everybody out there, be careful. I don't even drink the Kool-Aid when they have a new game coming out, and I hate it when people are doing all these store exclusives. Like I hate it, man. Just give us all the same one. But you know what? Even if GameStop has the best pre-order incentive, I still don't shop with them. I don't care.
Yeah,
I absolutely hate them, and I think their rewards program needs work too. I think it's kind of shitty. But anyway, you've been warned by the BTM boys. I don't know. That's all I got. They're the devil. What do you guys think of GameStop? I know you guys might say the same thing. A lot of people trash talk them, but yet they still shop at them. It's funny. But the same thing with Walmart, man. I mean, whatever's easiest, I guess. But anyway, hit up some flea markets. That's what we do. Put in the work. Anything else, Zach?
I got nothing.
Check out btmreview.com. We're going to post this, of course, to our YouTube, iTunes, the Facebook, and all that fun stuff. Twitter, Tumblr, for all you pre-tweenies out there. Feel free to comment on your thoughts on it. Comment on the state of retro games and where you get your games and your opinions on the business ethics of GameStop. And, of course, enjoy Eddie Furlong Week. The shameless promotion. Check out our film commentaries for all you movie connoisseurs. That's it for now. I'm Aaron.
I'm Zach.
Peace out, guys.